Do you remember that sound? The cheerful jangle of the bell as you pushed open the door of your local corner shop? Before you'd even crossed the threshold, the smell hit you: fresh bread from the morning delivery, mingled with polish on the wooden counter and something sweet from the jars behind the till. The floorboards creaked underfoot. The shopkeeper glanced up, already knowing your name, your mum's usual order, perhaps even why you'd been sent down the road with a note clutched in your hand. It was more than shopping. It was ritual. It was connection. Over the next few minutes, we're revisiting 20 memories from those corner shops of the 50s and 70s, small details you might have forgotten, but once remembered, will transport you straight back. How many will you recognize? Between the 1950s and 1970s, Britain's streets looked remarkably different. Nearly every neighborhood had its corner shops, sometimes 2 or 3 within walking distance. They were often family-run operations, squeezed into converted front rooms or purpose-built premises on busy junctions. Open early enough to catch the morning papers, and late enough for emergency milk runs, they fitted seamlessly into daily life. Before the supermarket revolution swept through Britain in the 70s, these modest establishments were where you bought nearly everything: your daily bread, weekend vegetables, household essentials, even paraffin for heaters in winter. But they were never just transactional spaces. They were woven into the social fabric of the community. The shopkeeper wasn't some distant corporation. They lived above the premises or around the corner. They knew your family by name, remembered your mum's regular order, and had a shrewd sense of whether you'd been behaving yourself that week. Walking into your corner shop wasn't simply shopping. It was stepping into a place that knew you, expected you, and, in its own quiet way, looked after you. If this brought back even one small memory, feel free to tap that white subscribe button. We share moments like this every week, little pieces of the Britain we grew up in. Let's walk through those doors again. First, the penny sweets rows of glass jars lining the shelves, filled with sherbet fountains, aniseed balls, and licorice sticks. You'd point at what you wanted, and the shopkeeper would twist open the lid, weighing your selection on gleaming brass scales that balanced perfectly with little brass weights. Everything was weighed like that: sugar, flour, loose tea scooped into brown paper bags and tied with string, never sealed plastic. And if you were lucky, there'd be the bell jar of broken biscuits near the till, sold cheap because the corners had crumbled. No one minded. They tasted just as good. Behind the counter, the shopkeeper kept a handwritten account book thick, slightly dog-eared where some families paid on tick, settling their bill at week's end. Trust wasn't a policy. It was understood. The smell of fresh bread drifted from the bakery counter, still warm if you arrived early enough. Pop bottles. You'd return them for a few pence back, clinking them carefully in a string bag. In winter, the paraffin heater glowed in the corner, filling the shop with a distinct, almost comforting warmth. Sometimes you didn't even go inside. You'd call out your order from the doorway, and the shopkeeper would gather it while you waited. If you needed sliced ham, they'd carve it by hand, adjusting thickness to your mum's exact preference. Comics and magazines filled a wire rack by the door. The Beano, Jackie, woman's own end. There was always the shop cat, sprawled across the counter, indifferent to commerce. But the best part, getting sent down with a note from Mum, perhaps for eggs or a tin of something. The shopkeeper would read it, nod knowingly, and pack everything just right. Ice lollies lived in a chest freezer that required serious digging. Best before dates didn't exist. You simply trusted things were fresh. On Sundays, nearly everything closed, except perhaps the paper shop, and sometimes, just sometimes, the shopkeeper would remember your birthday, slipping an extra sweet into your bag with a wink. Then one day, the supermarket opened, and everything changed. Now, let's be honest, those corner shops weren't perfect. They were small, sometimes pricier than the new supermarkets, and choice was limited to what fit on the shelves. You couldn't compare brands or hunt for bargains like today, but they offered something no fluorescent lit I'll ever could: human connection. The shopkeeper noticed when someone was struggling. They'd quietly let a bill run longer, ask after your gran, slip an extra apple into the bag for a child who looked pale. They were woven into the fabric of the street, not just traders, but neighbors. Today, shopping is faster, cheaper, undeniably more convenient. We scan, we pay, we leave, rarely exchanging more than pleasantries with a till operator we'll never see again. We've gained efficiency and variety beyond imagination. But we've also lost something quieter, harder to measure. Did we gain more than we lost? Perhaps that's a question worth sitting with. A handful of traditional corner shops still survive, often run by new generations, keeping that spirit alive. What do you remember most? Share your memories below. We didn't know we were living in the last days of something special, but we were. Before you go, if these memories made you smile today, then hit the white subscribe button and stay with us. We're rebuilding a little corner on YouTube where the old Britain still lives, and you re-welcome here anytime. For more of these unbelievable memories, tap the video on your screen. The 1970s stories are something else. Don't forget to subscribe.